Hello, Connecticut. It's Johnny, and I have Autumn Mattox next to me here. We want to explain what's happening in the Connecticut 5G lawsuit with the FISA court and the FISA judges as it pertains to biometric chipping. So what happens is when you go to the doctor, they, for example, a colonoscopy, they will chip you without your consent or knowledge, and then over time it becomes corrosive. And those chips are leased through the NSA. And the frequencies of those chips, where they're listening to your body, are being used by, let's say, unclean actors. So, Autumn, why don't you discuss what happened on your trip to Washington?
On my trip to Washington, D.C. with Sherry Mulnax, we went and we took copies of our scans, and my scan shows that I have 4, and Sherry's shows that she has a lot in her body.
13.
And we took the scans of an 11-year-old child, his mother, and another friend of ours, a couple friends of ours actually, their scans as well, and added them in and made a cover letter explaining that these biometric chips have been placed in our body non-consensually, and they do harm to your body. We have had linear scans done by a professional, scans done by a professional in Salt Lake City, Utah, who's amazing, who knows that those are connected to semiconductors. And
so let me interrupt. So you suspected that you were chipped.
yes,
You sought medical professionals that can identify the chip, create a chain of custody of the chip, now we're asking judges to pay for the removal of the chips through court order.
Yes.
And so far, all the requests have been denied. And we're talking to Judge Meyer in the state of Connecticut. It is now in the Second Circuit Court in New York City, where it's being totally mishandled. So if you look on the screen, this is the writ. It's version 45. The court is operating on version 21, but as you can see, Autumn here is the 4th major plaintiff. Now we think we're in touch with 120,000 falsely arrested Fusion Network targets.
Yes.
So what's happening here is the Fusion networks are funded by tax dollars. They keep pushing for more and more money, and they're using the money through a pay network through Lockheed Martin to generate debit cards to pay people to torture you electronically. It's complicated, I get it, but if people don't start to understand it and share these concepts, it's basically going to happen to the entire population. I think at least 30 million people in America are affected. That's my guess. It could be potentially twice that. And in the near future, their goal is to chip everyone. And they are doing it through chemtrails, doing it through food, doing it through dental practices, doing it through every type of doctor there is chipping their patients to do follow-up surveillance inside your body without your consent. So then Autumn found out she had 4?
4.
And Sherry found out she had 13, but
yes.
We have people with 53 chips. Now keep in mind, the lady with the 53 chips is on this list, but she was medically kidnapped. I was medically kidnapped, folks, in the courtroom. Tackled, taken to a psych ward, and on Monday I have a competency hearing. So what they're trying to do is explain, they're trying to say I'm crazy. Okay, let's see what happens with that, okay? And I'm glad to do it, but here we go. Let's get back to what happens with the chip. The chips are analyzed. You can run it through a FCC database, and what is generated is this. So we have a lady on the screen. Her name is Rita Sika. There she is, the 5th plaintiff. She has 2,000 companies that have leased her chip. She is a top security clearance analyst for FBI, CIA, NSA. So what's happening is they gave her an ocular implant. You have an ocular implant.
Yes, well, my optic nerve on the right side went complete. I'm completely blind in my right eye.
Okay, so what happened was they chipped her eye, affecting her vision. It's affecting her ability to earn money. She's having problems reading. She's blind in one eye, folks. So what's happening is they chipped Rita in the eye. Rita reads top secret documents in her job. They have the ability of reading everything she is reading. It's a problem. So let's talk about the list of defendants. We have Blumenthal, my U.S. Senator, taking the 5G bribes, whose lobbyist is Leiter, Hunter Biden's lobbyist, very important. Chris Murphy's lobbyist. Why is that important? Because the Ukraine biolabs are doing the research on the Pfizer vaccine. Understand this is all connected? And it's conspiracy theory to the judge who went to college at Yale, where Blumenthal went to Yale. So here we go. We have a few things to discuss, and it is not easy. But when you look at the list here, we have DARPA. We have BlackRock. BlackRock is bribing senators and openly discussing it. So here we go. Blumenthal got 18 bribes so far in 5G, and he bribed me. But let's get back to the story at hand. This poor lady has no vision in one eye because she was chipped. So she's a disabled advocate, worried about people becoming disabled.
A lot of people have.
And assisting. I think she has 19 new plaintiffs in this case.
Yes, it's going to be a lot more than that. But you got to realize, too, that even in Washington, D.C., I mean, you get hit with what feels like the worst pain you've ever felt in your body.
Lean forward.
Well, I don't even know where to look. But you get hit with this pain in your body. And when I was in front of the Washington Monument, after drinking 2 glasses of ice water and eating 7 French fries, which was what I had for lunch, on Inauguration Day, I got this overall sick feeling, and it hit me harder and harder and harder until I literally threw up.
So who's doing it?
Who's doing it?
Look on the list. Boeing is doing it. AT&T Services, they are a primary defendant, AT&T. Verizon, a primary defendant. Why? Because through their network, perps being compensated as confidential informants are being paid to build a case against you through the FISA court with a FISA warrant. For example, I'm on the domestic terrorist list. Why? I don't know. But they wanted my money, and they stole it. $50 million. Okay? They want her money?
They stole, they came after my family inheritance. I lost friends. I lost family. I had people coercing me into committing suicide. I had voice-to-skull technology used on me with the voice of dead relatives, with the voice of people that weren't so dead, with the voice of people. Well, it was enough. It felt like it was the middle of a satanic ritual abuse.
So let me turn on the document reader. Here's the document. This is about 20 companies: Nokia, Ericsson, Boeing, AT&T, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and then again Boeing. Go through. Qualcomm is a defendant in the case.
We got a whole lot we got to add for mine too, because I had
here's
Dell
another
computers.
Boeing.
I had everybody else on mine too. Because once you have your frequency, which shows that there's two-way communication and also GPS locator on your frequencies that they're able to actually track and find, what they do is they can go and they can find your frequency and they can find who has access to that frequency. And I have 200 pages of companies that have access to me at all times.
One lady here, Rita, has 2,000 companies after her because they want to read through her eyes. Now she's targeted. She's got her defendants in here. Everyone's adding their defendants to the case. It's a lot of paperwork, folks. But here we go. Fusion centers, number 68. They did this through election fraud. Tyler Technologies, Staple Street Capital, Scott Bates. Who's Scott Bates? You really need to know. Who's Gabby Rosenberg? Who is Attorney General William Tong? Andre Bermudez Hallstrom. What did they do to try to stop us? Well, it's not going to work in the first place. But in the second place, if you go down in this document and read other sections, you will see there's some quite interesting things happening. For example, we're listing right here the subpoena requests. The district attorney, FISA Court Kenneth Karras. He's my FISA court judge. Do you understand? Blumenthal rewrote FISA in 2013. He changed all the laws, so he took away your constitutional rights to privacy and other things. He destroyed the Constitution. So here we go. Secretary of State Stephanie Thomas, guilty as sin. Election fraud. Office of the Chief Court Administrator, guilty as sin. The Connecticut Bar Association. Go down the list. Salesforce. Who's that? Collecting the bribes, the payment schedule for Antifa for George Soros. Who's FSR? Part of child trafficking. BlackRock, again, paying the senators. Who pays the senators? Antifa through Act Blue. And what is the FEC doing about it? It's a problem. So here's a subpoena to Boeing. Here's the next subpoena, number 111. Whose judge is that?
Mine.
What are you going to do?
Subpoena.
And say what? What do you want from the judge?
I want to know who gave
permission
to ever have me biometrically chipped and to have me literally tortured and tracked 24/7. It is the most horrible feeling in the world.
Is it B2K?
And I have voice to skull used on me all the time.
All the time. What do they say to you?
Oh, it is the same thing. It's repetitive. It's the same thing that happens with everybody that's got voice to skull.
Whose voice is it?
It's the voice of people that I knew in Dallas, Texas.
So here we go. They recorded their voices and the structure of their voice, and then they created uploaded a subliminal message, correct?
Well, it's similar to that. The microwave auditory effect, when they can make somebody hear the voices that nobody else hears. But what happened to me also was I'd have these voices talking to me all the time. And it's enough to make somebody look like they have psychosis, like they're schizophrenic, but it's not that whatsoever. They had the voice of my dead mother, my dead father, my dead brother, but literally I felt like I was talking to them. Right. Like I was talking to them in heaven at that time, and like I was being persecuted for things that I never had fault for. Being accused of causing the death of 3 people, being accused of this, being accused of abortion, being accused of all kinds of things that were really bad.
Here's the point. We are now going to ask that judge for the file that made Autumn a domestic terrorist.
Right.
Why?
Right.
She's the advocate for the disabled. How is she involved in this? Look on the screen. This is the appendix of the lawsuit. Medical kidnapping, 18 U.S.C. 351. There are 35 counts in this lawsuit. And look at page 19. Denied grand jury requests. What's happening here? The Fifth Amendment gives you the right to grand jury. Connecticut has no grand juries. Connecticut has no sheriffs to arrest the judges that deny you a grand jury. Do you understand where we're going with this? So, why are we trying to change the venue?
We're trying to change the venue to where we can have a fair shot at having judges that will be non-biased, that will actually give us a shot in court, because in the state of Connecticut, it doesn't seem like they've taken this seriously. taken advantage of being in the court system and not giving us our constitutional and civil rights.
Quite simply, if in the federal lawsuit we have 115 subpoenas, which we do, how come no one has answered any? Well, the reason that is because it is a conspiracy not to answer a federal subpoena, which the judges are not enforcing. So therefore, not only have they denied Autumn her civil right to due process,
Right.
here we go, denying discovery of torture, denying the removal of an non-consensual brain chip, where they are surveilling her, and they seized her identity. Seizure. The Fourth Amendment. The 14th Amendment.
I literally had people filing my taxes when I didn't file my taxes and getting my what are they called, payments?
Disability?
No, when they gave the
Social Security
during COVID, when they gave you the stimulus. When they gave you the stimulus payments, I had them receiving checks after they had filed. When I was living with an ex-boyfriend in Dallas, Texas, his wife is into that kind of things that he's married to now. Had filed my taxes and stolen my ID, filed my taxes. I called the IRS on it when I was living with Judge Bullock last year.
Look on the screen. New Jersey complaint, autism. They are affecting autistic children.
Yes, they are.
Who are highly sensitive to 5G.
Including in El Paso, Texas, where I'm from.
Right, so there's maybe 15 Texas people involved in the case already.
Definitely.
And that, look here, MK Ultra. What's happening in Hillsborough County, Florida? What's happening with Ravenclaw by Raytheon? What's happening in Virginia's Loudoun County? Denver, Colorado, Douglas County? The fusion networks and transhumanism by the DOD. So what's interesting is that the DOD is now saying it wasn't us. It was the NSA. Excuse me? So do you have a message for Pete Hegseth?
Well, Pete Hegseth, yay, I'm glad he got in there, by the way. We're asking to have a congressional hearing. Sherry and I went to Washington, D.C. and walked in between the congressional buildings.
Did you go to Jim Jordan's office?
We went to Jim Jordan's office, who I am a huge fan of. I adore the man. And he's part of the weaponization committee. So we are asking to have some sort of congressional hearing to where we can have our cases heard and ask why we have been tracked literally like animals.
So what do you think about Pam Bondi?
You know what? I don't know that much about her yet, but I have high hopes that she's going to be better than what we've had before.
Right. And how about Tulsi Gabbard?
I adore her.
So what's happening is it's the changing of the guard. So I'm going to send this video, to all four of them. And I don't expect to hear from them because I've never heard from them before. And we never hear from anyone, including the defendants.
Don't forget the new head of the CIA I'm a huge fan of too, and that is John Radcliffe. I think if anybody can get things under control, he can. Well,
here we go. The holdout vote against John Radcliffe was Chris Murphy, who was Department of Homeland Security Senate Subcommittee Chair. So who's responsible for the border? Is it the patrol agent or the guy with oversight, just like the Intelligence Committee has oversight of the FBI, which is a total train wreck, and Christopher Wray? Adios. What's interesting here is that the U.S. Attorney Avery just resigned. Who's going to replace Avery? Avery was Blumenthal's lawyer defending him. Avery is Murphy's lawyer defending him. Now, why would Avery resign if Trump's about to replace the U.S. Attorney in the state of Connecticut, who was defending Blumenthal? Now, think of this. If we're all victims across the country, Why are the U.S. attorneys defending the people who perpetrated the crime instead of prosecuting the criminal acts against the citizens of the United States wrongfully imprisoned?
Well, you know, what we also need to bring into effect too is there's a lot of rogue groups too that have gotten their hands on this same kind of technology, and that are not based with the feds. And when criminals and organized crime get into it and they start committing fraud and theft and getting into people's cell phones and things of this sort, it's not all the federal government. You got to realize that there are people that are doing this that got the technology from the dark web, and we know that. Everybody knows that.
Right, so let me just break it down a little bit. If we went after Clapper and we were denied a grand jury, and then we went after Brennan right here and we were denied a grand jury, and now we're asking for a grand jury on the FISA judges. So, for example, Louis Garola, Fifth Circuit Court FISA judge right here, number 17. Now you go down to the writ, and you say, hey, DARPA's involved. BlackRock's involved. The Apollo Group is involved. State Street's involved. Vanguard's involved. And you keep going down. Verizon has the platform they're doing it through. Okay, Lockheed Martin is paying the bribes. General Dynamics, leasing the frequencies to target people like Autumn. And then you go down the list and you see who we're adding. FBI Director Christopher Wray. We added him a long time ago. He did not answer, and now he has resigned. So the people are resigning, fearful of what they've done. Now, when you look here, look at the 20th defendant, Joseph Preston Morgan. Who's that? Oh, that's Antifa.
His informant?
Oh, yeah. So how come no one in the federal government's prosecuted anyone from Antifa? Can you fathom that? Burning down entire towns?
Because up until now, they've owned them.
George Floyd? Okay. Big deal. Ivor Purdy. Do you know who that is? Well, maybe you should know who Lockheed Martin's DOD contractor who placed Sherry Mullinax into MK Ultra. The CIA is Lockheed Martin, folks. And the bed apples.
You know, I came out very strongly on LinkedIn last year when I was living with retired federal judge Mary Elizabeth Bullock against the 702 and surveillance. And I didn't even understand at that point how important that factor was going to be. I was not only banned and restricted from LinkedIn after having one of the biggest followings there and 100,000 impressions. I had support from people that I never expected to have support from, got endorsed by people I never expected to get endorsed by. We need to grow up, people. We need to have meetings with people. We need to figure out how to solve this problem, how to stop this from happening to human beings, because this is no way to treat human beings, ever. To be constantly under surveillance, and this means when I was running literally for my life and went to Mexico and stayed there for 31 days on Mexican soil, I went out 60 miles into Mexico, still had the voice to skull, still feeling the electronic shocks through my body, still feeling everything that was happening. Now I have proof of it from the scans. And what you don't understand is when it shows that there's two-way communication that's enough to fry me from the inside out. This is happening not just to me, it's happening to literally hundreds of thousands of people that have had biometric chips in their body. They have smart dusts. They have brain-computer interfaces. These things are literally enough for people to have their little crime networks go in and make you feel like you are an avatar in the middle of a video game and everybody's trying to control everything about you. I don't let them control me anymore, but at one point in my life I did. But I've lost my vision for it, but I'm going to fight for the rights of every single person that's going through this, because nobody deserves to be treated this way by anybody, ever.
So if you look at the document which we are building, and it's a tool, if you look here, who's Samuel Fury? Well, you ought to know, and you don't. Who's Aiden Fury? You ought to know. Chad Chronister, Sheriff of Hillsborough County, did a no-no, okay? He went after the victim, claiming she needed to be medically imprisoned as psychosis, when in fact Sam Fury is using a video game after chipping a lady, and he's allowing his 16-year-old son Aiden to voice to skull implant conversations into a lady's brain, and she complained to the local sheriff, Chad Chronister. Well, hold on a second. Every time the phone rings, it's someone else with a different problem in a different town that can't get anywhere. You say to yourself, hold on a second. They're saying what? How did they do it? How'd they get into your head? Well, here's a Keith Thompson. Who's that? Lori Thompson, David Shapiro, Mason Shapiro, Gavin Shapiro, Sandra Coda, Mike Chapman. Who's Mike Chapman? Loudoun County Sheriff, arresting a plaintiff illegally, telling her she's nuts, when in fact she has top security clearance. And what's happening at the embassy, for example, Cuba, targeting, okay? The embassy, Amsterdam, targeting. They're going after our federal agencies, okay, to discredit them, hospitalize them, and ruin them as an asset. And here we go. Why are these defense contractors paying third parties like Gavin Shapiro to torture Rita Sika? Well, hold on a second. What's Kaiser Permanente have to do with it? What's Raytheon got to do with it? Who are all these people? Who's Thomas Gorman covering up this whole thing?
This is the point where everybody needs to grow up, and we need to be able to sit in a room and we need to discuss what's been happening to everybody. It is such a global issue. It's not just in the U.S., but in the U.S., it is out of control. It is completely out of control. And they can call it gang stalking, they can call it surveillance, they can call it, electronic harassment. But I literally have been in contact with thousands and thousands of people who have gone through the same thing I have, had their lives destroyed, lost their children, had their children turn against them, had their family turn against them, been gaslighted by people, had their lives threatened by other people saying you can't be in contact with that person. I've had relationships ruined that I cherished for my lifetime that now don't matter to me anymore. They don't matter anymore because this is so important to me to have this seen. There are people that have lost their lives by suicide. There's people that have lost their lives by accidents that were orchestrated accidents. We have proof of all of this. They get into people's vehicles, make them not run when they're supposed to be able to make it places. I have politicians in Texas that I know have been targeted, that know that they've been targeted. They have no problem with me talking about that as well. Have their families that have been targeted. This has to stop. These are good people. These are people. I have had things I've done in my past, but I'll tell you what, the person I am today, my mother and my father, who are deceased now, would be so proud of what I'm doing now. Because I'm standing up for the rights of not only myself, but the rights of everybody, for the rights of this man.
So this disabled victim here,
this man right here,
is standing up for your due process right.
Absolutely, and I have no problem.
And you guys are not cooperating.
I have no problem representing people that are afraid to come out of their houses because they're so isolated, because they're getting tortured, because their lives are being threatened, because they've lost their homes, because they're living in their vehicles, they're living in ice cold weather. They've lost everything they have. They can't get a job because they're blacklisted. They can't even go into a restaurant without somebody saying, oh, that person's a pedophile. That person's this. That person's this. And it's all based on lies. It's all hearsay. I have people that I'm advocating to right now.
What if it's the judges creating the misconduct for their pension, which is managed by BlackRock?
That's a big
BlackRock owns Bank of America, 100%. It owns Merrill Lynch, 100%. So they're voting the shares in their mutual fund. Okay? So they're the guilty party for paying the bribes. The judges are accepting the bribes. It's ridiculous, folks.
Except for when, of course, they are fed information that is falsified information. I have watched my criminal history change right in front of my eyes to where I look like Bonnie and Clyde. I have watched my medical history completely deleted. And if you look at my body, there's not a part of my body that's not covered with scars. I've been in the hospital, had literally a PICC line in my heart for 6 months, have lost my vision, have had hernia surgeries, have been diagnosed with cancer, have had a mild heart attack.
Well, let me explain
Where's the records?
something. Hold on.
Where's all the records for
Hold
all
on,
this?
hold on. Let me explain something. In Connecticut, our Judicial Media Committee runs the news agencies. So here we go. We're having people from News 12 over for dinner. Okay, we're going to talk to them. They don't cover it. Okay, fine. I understand they don't want to lose their job. But listen here. If the Judicial Committee of Media Committee in Connecticut runs the news agencies for News Channel 3, let's throw a name out there. Marissa Alter is on the board. She's a newscaster. We gave her various stories to cover. We're saying, this is epic. Oh, no, I can't cover that. Why not? It's newsworthy. Oh, no, we're not touching that. Why? Because it's rigged. Judge Blauey's on the board. Oh, my gosh. Marissa's talking to the judicial liaison. They determine what stories to cover. Look at the Alex Jones story in Connecticut with Judge Bellis. Judge Bellis is on the committee. Here we go. The judge that heard the Alex Jones trial in Waterbury, they did not allow me in the room with my camera. They only allowed CNN, which owns Altice, which has a deal with News Channel 12. So here we go. What's happening here? The judiciary is controlling the media, which in fact runs the narrative that 5G is safe when in fact it is not. It's just like cigarettes, folks. For 30 years they knew they would cause cancer and they were dangerous, but they lied about it. And now they're lying about the radiation levels.
And
the
it's
purpose
not
of
even
5G.
still at 5G. It's almost up to 10G, like Amy Holden said.
Well, 6G is out there, which is transhumanism. Did you know that? The state senators are responsible. Throw a name out there, Heather Summers. How many children under the age of 10 has she sexually mutilated with her legislation? Under the age of 10. Trans bullshit. Okay? Permanent harm, child abuse by the state legislature. Excuse me? If you're 18 or 21, you can decide what to do with your body. But don't take the parental right of the oversight of the kid at the school and have the school impose that you're going to transition a kid. Excuse me. It's all related to this. These are human civil rights in the state, in the Constitution state, being absolutely destroyed because of sanctuary policy. Sanctuary policy. Folks, it's that simple.
There are so many things that big factors in this case, and it's so widespread. But the facts are, nobody should have a right to ever control, manipulate the thoughts, or have voices beamed into anybody's head. Have people commit suicide. Have people, persecuted for crimes.
So, by the way, we're
committed.
asking for neural rights right here. This is what we're doing.
Colorado.
You have a right to your own thoughts.
After Colorado already had their neural rights, in effect, when I went to Colorado for targeted action in 2024 in August, I still had voice to skull being used on me there. When I
Adam Lanza was a Yale patient in the mind control program.
yes,
Right.
and when I went to California and lived there for 7 months, the same thing. Voice to skull was still being used there, and then they passed the neural rights there. What's going to happen?
Look at Myron May.
Yeah.
Look at the case.
There are so many people. I just spoke to a gentleman yesterday, right? That went to Albania, went back home to Albania.
All right.
That was living right here in the state,
Connecticut.
in the state of Connecticut, and he said he was being groomed to become a mass murderer, and he fought against it and found his faith in God and went back to Albania to die because he had been so tortured by the biometric chips that he's had removed and in the possession of an Italian doctor. Gave us all the proof of that as well. And he told me, he said, you need to call Mark Rubio. He said, he's going to want to hear what you have to say. And I'm going to plan on doing that as well. And I'm going to get back in contact with the people that I put copies of everything in.
I've seen a lot of letters to Mark Rubio, and he's never come back.
Let's hope that he's a stand-up guy. I think he is. And I know Jim Jordan is.
Well, as Secretary of State, Mark Rubio would have a lot more power.
Yeah. We are on the warpath. Definitely on the warpath. I have watched people die. I've watched orchestrated accidents. I've watched people being entrapped, incarcerated, institutionalized that never should have had the things happen to them that have happened. I have another warrior that I think the world of, and a lot of people have questions about him, and that's Tanaway Downing, who is also fighting for people's civil rights that have been wrongly incarcerated, institutionalized, and he is a constitutional and civil rights warrior.
How do they get that far? I mean, put your differences aside.
Yeah. It's to a point where, you know, people might live in their little houses with their little picket fences and think everything's wonderful, but people will do anything to make money. And when people can literally have you on a computer screen and say, okay, let's make her have a pain in her chest there. Okay, let's make her have this happen, and push a button and cause that to happen, which is not only real, it happens every day. Brain-computer interfaces, they can sprinkle you with smart dust. They can have chips in your body. But I have 91.9% radiation coming through the back of my head, which is the cause also with the two-way communication and the remote neural monitoring that caused me to go blind in my right eye. I want the people in prison.
Don't let this happen to you.
Don't let this happen to you. Don't let it happen to your family. If you have people that claim that they're hearing voices and you think they're crazy.
So this is Autumn Mattox. She's knocking door to door with documents like this to get the list of defense contractors inside your head.
Yes.
To make, a super soldier out of who? These are experiments. These are the grants listed for the experiment. You can't use federal money to torture Autumn here.
Or anybody else.
By using her eye implant illegally.
Or any implant in your body. I never gave consent. You know, when you're in the hospital and you're in pain and you're getting ready to go into surgery, you sign a lot of documents. And if they come back and say, well, you signed a document giving consent here, I'm going to say, no, I didn't. I was in pain. I was in duress. I never gave consent for anybody to literally track me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, use voice-to-skull technology on me, or get me coerced to commit suicide either. This is a demonic, satanic ritual abuse.
This is a for-profit criminal act.
It's a murder-for-profit club. You can look it up. And it is not only against the law, it is slander, it is belittling, it causes people to lose people they cared about their whole life, it causes them to become isolated, and what they do is they gain financially from it, and then they steal everything you're worth. They get life insurance policies on you. They plan on cashing out on those life insurance policies after you're dead. And then they have slush funds, they have hedge funds, they have whatever. But money will cause people to do anything. They'll do anything for money.
So hedge funds are using their financial might to undermine your neuro rights.
Yes. Yes.
for profit.
And they will go in, they will do everything to paint you up to be a person that is a horrible person, that did this, that did that, that did this, that did that. I spent my whole life taking care of my family. My mother was my entire life, and she's gone. My father's gone. My brother's gone. I have other family that I don't even associate with anymore because the way they treated me,
Right.
saying I had psychiatric problems or had issues.
Right. So the Ken Dixons of the
Yes.
Hearst Media's corporations are slandering people who have your best interest at heart, because the media in Connecticut is rigging not only elections, but torture.
And when we have somebody as awesome as Amy Holem, who can take a video of a child and tear it apart and break it apart and find out that not only has there been weaponry system that's been used to torture him, but there's also a child sex trafficking ring that also has been...
Child sex trafficking
Yes.
of autistic children.
Children in the spectrum. And he's not the only one. And when we find out that he has biometric chips in his body as well, with the same kind of frequency, two-way communication...
What's Raytheon got to do
what in the
with
world
this
are
boy?
they doing that to a child for? Why?
Why is Boeing involved with this child?
And any child.
And why did Heather Summers allow it as the senator?
We have a lot of questions that we're going to have a lot of people. I won't stop people. I'm not afraid. I've already been just about had my life ended every way in the world. And the people that gained financially took things that belonged to me, stole everything, my clothes, stole my parents' ashes, stole my brother's ashes, stole my pets' ashes. People that I had trusted, that I had done things for. People used me financially for years. You know, drugs were in the equation before it, but not in my life for many, many years. But I know a lot of people that are in that lifestyle, that are taking part in the harassment and gaining financially from it. I want to tell you one thing, honey. Methamphetamine kills. You guys need to get off of it. You need to start praying to God that he's not going to take your life for what you've done to other people. This is ridiculous. It really is.
Allow Autumn to help you. Circulate this video. You will get a percentage. If it's 3%, that gives it a thumbs up. That's fine. If you can get 10% to share the video, and you can get to 100,000 people, well, you know what? You might actually help someone. So that's our goal. Today's Saturday. Share the video.
Yes.
See how many views and likes we can get, because the only way that we're going to fix this problem with
It's
our
awareness.
dysfunctional Senate and Congress,
Is awareness.
when they figure out exactly what's happening, they will put an end to it. It's all about the judges. Take my word for it. Thanks a lot.
God bless.